Good evening, and welcome to a brand new episode of Monday Night Therapy. I'm your host, Minnie Hunt, and with me I have Aaron Rastovski, which I like to just call you Rastovski.
That works for
Since,
me.
since I know how to say your last name, unlike John. So welcome.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you
Thank
are one of Core Nation's writers for baseball and other things too. And I asked you to join us because we just finished off a couple hours ago the desert, what did we call it? The Desert Breeze playoffs or
Desert
something?
Invitational, and then
Desert Invitational. Yes, which was wonderful weather here in Scottsdale and Phoenix. And then they played one game in Mesa. We had 2 games in Scottsdale. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we lost the first game against San Diego, right?
UC Irvine.
Oh,
The Eaters.
Irvine. Yes, that's right. Yeah, that was a tough one. Not sure what happened there.
Yeah, they've people that only pay attention to like the big time football and basketball schools don't know the smaller schools out west like Irvine and Pepperdine and all those guys, but they've been playing baseball well for a long time. And last year they were the only team that won 20 games at home and 20 games on the road. So they're
Really?
they're a fringe super regional team. So that was nothing to be upset or embarrassed about.
Okay. I didn't realize, but we did beat Vandy, and they were a ranked team, weren't they, going in?
Yep, they were number 16. They fell a little bit today since we beat them. I can't remember what they ended up at, but we've
24th or
beat
25th.
them twice in a row now. So
Yeah. And that was the day that we got the bad news, the sad news, I should say, about Greg Sharpe.
yep.
And the team just kind of came out, and I mean, they said that they were playing for him, which, I mean, gives me chills thinking about that.
Yeah, Bolt said the first game they definitely had some like opening day jitters and everything, but after they had that Greg Sharpe news, everyone was focused and all business and ready to get back to work for Sharpie.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, he's definitely one of the reasons that I became a fan. Such a big fan.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that we won. They honored him in such a way last season when we found out that he had pancreatic cancer with something on their caps. What was that?
Yeah, they had a big patch on the side that I really need to see if I can figure out a way to get one of those because that's really cool.
Yeah.
And the night they unveiled that patch, our pitcher threw a no-hitter. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, good things are happening when Sharpie's there to move us along.
Yes. Yes. So then we played in Mesa, and I forget who we played. Yesterday?
The last game was San Diego State. So,
That's who, San Diego State.
yeah, they were the most overmatched team in there. They haven't been good the past couple of years and just really have been trying to build up their program using a bunch of young guys, and they got some talented guys. They beat out LSU for a recruit, which the last time that happened, I have no idea. And so he started with a bunch of other freshmen, but they weren't ready for the competition they were going to see on the first weekend of their college experience.
Yeah.
But
okay.
A couple of years, they'll probably be pretty good.
Oh, really?
If they can hang on to their guys and not lose them to the transfer portal, that is.
Yeah. Well, baseball's a little different. Look at, we were able to return almost our whole roster. Justin Raji says it's SS that they had on their hat. Sharpe Strong. Very cool. Okay. And then today, kind of a shocker. I feel like it was kind of a shocker because we did so well against them last year. So today we played Grand Canyon University, and it's in Glendale. No, it's in Phoenix. And
Phoenix.
I took my whole family there. Well, my daughters, because they were out of school, and my oldest daughter has a boyfriend who plays baseball. So it just so happened that his best friend's brother was the starting pitcher for Grand Canyon. So we got free tickets, which is kind of nice. Yeah. And so this is a picture of us today enjoying the weather, and hopefully it shows up soon. But I sat next to my youngest daughter who knows nothing. Sorry, I think I'm blurry. Blurry? Am I blurry, guys? Let me know. It kind of feels like I am. She knows nothing about baseball. And I said, well, do you want me to explain it to you? And she goes, no, I don't want to know. So on the far left is my middle child, Shelby, and then Stella's my baby, and then Cora is on the other side of me, and then her boyfriend Connor, which is a little fun. But because he's a pitcher, Connor.
Okay.
And so he's the one who filled me in because we were doing so good at first. We were up like 1-0 right at the beginning, and something happened to our pitcher, and they had to relieve him and put somebody else in. And then the next guy, I mean, it was like 3 up, 3 down, 3 up, 3 down. It was a quick game. We were in the 7th inning before I knew it. And right after that, I think, he just kind of was worn out, and we let them score. What was it? 3 in 1 inning?
They got 2, and that was actually
2.
The guy that scored or drove in their 2 runs was a defensive replacement for their best player, and he ended up being the hero of the game, which makes it even more kind of infuriating.
Yes. I can tell you, though, and I'm sure you saw this by watching the games because it was on MLB.com that you could watch it. There were definitely more Nebraska fans in every single stadium than there was any other fans. In fact, I was trying to count how many Nebraska license plates I saw. I lost
always count. Anytime we go down to either Texas or Arizona, there's always tons of people that turn up.
Yeah.
And if there's a guy that writes for D1baseball.com that I think his name's like the pencil guy or the pencil dude, I always forget. But he was showing video of the whole crowd, and it was packed, and then he went out he zoomed out real quick to the line, and the line was just like almost a football field long, still waiting to get in as the game started. Of just flat out Husker fans. It was all red, all of it. It
was. It's really nice to see. In fact, even I'd say probably half of the alumni are Husker fans. So that was kind of fun. Yeah. No fights this year, which
disappointing.
About you were disappointed by that. I wasn't. But yeah, we just couldn't pull it out, and I have no idea why.
Yeah, we played. The thing that I'm most excited about all this was our pitching, which is usually the thing that's kind of the slowest for us to develop each year. Really showed up pretty well, starting pitching wise. Last 2 guys went like 7 innings strong, only gave up a runner or 0 runs in Will Walsh's case. McConaughey got off to a good start with 8 of the first 9 guys he retired were strikeouts, and then he just kind of
yeah.
If you're a pitcher, you know that there's something with your delivery just goes off by a tiny bit, and you keep repeating that, and all of a sudden you're just lost and you can't get it back. I could never dream of being a pitcher, but if I was, I would always lose it like that. So I always just stuck to first base and outfield.
It is a mental game for sure. Not just physical. I mean, you have to be so physical, but it is so mental. And if you aren't doing well, you really have to have a quick like memory loss.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to flush it and move on to the next guy. Otherwise, you're going to get pulled, right?
That's been kind of the issue with Christo that pitched in the first game and then today's game too, that gave up those base runners. He didn't give up the hit that scored him, but he's the one that led him on. His early seasons have always been really, really wild and very hit or miss.
Yeah.
He can either be dead on like he was last year at Grand Canyon and had 6 innings where he went and almost either shut him out or only allowed a run or two, but he's just been a little off this year at the start.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we forgot to mention this. James Boardman reminds us that the side of Timmerman's face says Rawlings. Wow. Oh my gosh. I watched that play over and over again because I'm like, whoa, how? And it just, in softball, the girls wear like a mask, like a cage, wear a mask.
Yeah, I don't know why.
So that they shot it in baseball.
Yeah, that guy is known as about the toughest guy on the team before this anyway. He was kind of the man when he was in high school at, I think it was Beatrice, played linebacker, safety, and all that stuff in football. And yeah, he was a dude. But yeah, the zoomed in pic that was being shared of their post game, he was in the middle with his arms up like this and looked like one of the Rocky movies.
Yeah, he did. And it was such it was that Saturday game that we're talking about that, they won against Vandy for Greg Sharpe. And it's just kind of, it's almost like, like, I don't know, a scar that you're maybe proud of, proud to wear because that, of the reason that you got it, I think. And I just think it is such a cool dynamic. Like even after the game today, one of the things I saw that I wish I would have taken a picture of it. Grand Canyon, they're kind of known to be more of like a Christian-based school. They're a private university, and like they get feeder schools that are Christian. But to see Nebraska all after the game, the entire team goes and congregates around the mound and they're praying and they're having their meeting. I thought that was such a cool thing. I love that. They really are a strong team. And I think that this is just, it's a hiccup. This loss that they had today.
Yeah, it was just disappointing because Grand Canyon didn't have the best showing at the Desert Invite, since today technically wasn't the Invitational, it was just a one-off game. They kind of, I think they barely beat San Diego, who we crushed, but I think San Diego pitched their best pitcher against them, so that's understandable. But they lost to Austin P, which is not a team you should lose to, and they got beat pretty soundly, I think. So that makes this a little more disappointing. But overall, good program. So it's not something that's going to hurt our RPI at the end of the season or anything like that. So just got to take it and learn from it, and hope that.
So they start playing again this weekend, don't they?
So yep, we travel to Louisiana to take on the Raging Cajuns next weekend for, I think, 3 games. Yep, 3-game series. Nice. So I don't even know how they did their first weekend here, but they're probably a step below like the Grand Canyon and UC Irvine, but not as bad as like San Diego, I would say. So hopefully we can come out of there with a series win, if not pulling out the actual black jerseys and get a sweep going.
Yeah. So people are talking about that. I guess that the one that Timmerman that hit Timmerman's face, Fuzero says it was 105 mile per hour ball.
Yeah, ex velocity was 105.
Oh
No
my
thanks.
gosh. I wonder if that broke any bones. Seems
He
like
said
it
he didn't
would.
get a concussion, which is wild because that would have been like the most limiting factor for him coming back probably. But he flew back. I think it was after that game that night, or either that or early in the morning, to go back to Lincoln to start getting taken care of for it.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of up in the air if he's going to be traveling to Louisiana, but I would expect him in Texas in a couple weeks,
Yeah.
where Todd and I will both be, since we
Oh, you're
like to
gonna
meet up in
go too?
Texas. Oh yeah, my sister lives
Nice.
probably 20 minutes from that park, so we like to go down
Oh,
there anytime they're in Frisco.
very cool. Yeah. Um, and it'll probably be really good weather, which you were telling me you got how many inches of snow in Lincoln today?
Oh, I don't even know. This is like wave number 3 of the snow to come through Omaha. So we had some on like Wednesday and then Friday and then today. And so today's I think had the most, but it wasn't too bad driving at least. So just depressing to keep on having to go out
Yeah.
and undo
Shovel snow every day.
shovel snow and yeah.
Well, and so okay, so we have beautiful weather down here in Phoenix, right? But we are praying for snow in the mountains
Mm-hmm.
because we ski, and there has not been any snow. We've gotten snow this season, I think twice. So it's not looking good for the ski season. Okay, Justin Raji says that he will probably need plastic surgery, is what Bolt
Okay.
said. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. That anytime you get swelling up in there, it can kind of mess things up, especially around the orbital bones.
Yeah, yeah. My sister-in-law had hers broken in a plane crash, but it
Mm.
healed just fine, and she didn't need plastic surgery. But oh my, that sounds serious. It's okay. Wow. And James Boardman says he hasn't been outside today. It's been snowing all day.
And it's been a good, like, I haven't been skiing since I had knee surgery when I was in high school. But today's snow was like perfect. Go out and ski snow. It was
Mhm.
thick and fluffy, and it was perfect. Made me want to go
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. See, when it snows like that, when it's fluffy, it's when it turns into ice that I don't like it.
Yeah, that
And
was
I don't
the
want to,
first snow was right around freezing, so it unfroze and then froze again, and
yeah.
that was not as fun.
Yeah. Justin Raji says, didn't Flagstaff just get 8 inches? Flagstaff is north of Phoenix. I think they did, but where we go, it's Pine Top Lakeside, and the ski resort there is Sunrise. We got 16 inches on Friday. So the girls were skiing with Diamond this weekend, and they had a great time. And it sounds like there's going to be plenty of snow for a little while, but it gets hot and it melts so fast here. So we got to keep getting more. Yeah, our ski season ends in like the first week of March. And in Colorado, it normally goes till April. So
Yeah, I've only ever been skiing in Colorado at the Keystone, and I don't remember the other ones, but
yeah.
I always liked that one.
Yeah. James Boardman wants to know, any is your favorite Husker baseball player, number 15, Dylan Carey? Yes, I was cheering for Dylan Carey, but not because his name is Dylan or because he has number 15. Because he's a really great player.
He is. He was last year. He was always kind of our shortstop in waiting as a freshman, and then last year as a sophomore, kind of felt the pressure of moving to the most premium defensive position at short and kind of being the guy that they thought would be driving in a lot of runs. But you can just tell from the way he's out there this year, he looks like a completely different guy.
He does.
Focused and confident, and it reminded me Spencer Schwellenbach, last guy to win the conference player of the year as a whole, not pitcher of the year. He was kind of that same way. He was always a really good player, and then that junior year you could see something just switched on in his brain, and he was the dude.
Mm-hmm. He was the dude, especially today. I mean, I felt like. How are you feeling about our pitchers? Can you give me like a rough outline as to who to look for and who's like on your radar for being the, top of the heap?
We're lucky that we lost our best pitcher and the best pitcher in the conference, obviously, in Sears last year, but we returned, I think it was originally 70% of our innings, and then I think it was this Borst ended up leaving the program. Why, I'm not sure. So we ended up with like 66% of our innings returning, which our pitching coach Childress said that he's never had anything close to that happen in his 30 years of coaching, I think it is. But so yeah, we've got pretty much everyone else back. So Mason McConaughey, Big Mac, since McConaughey takes too long to write all the time in our articles.
Or
was a second team preseason All-American, so he's our guy. He started off hot, and then he just lost it against Irvine, and he's definitely going to be the ace on the staff. And then we've got just a mash of guys that can follow him. Ty Horn was freshman last year, and you could see his stats weren't great, but you could see he was going up against, like, I'll never forget when we were playing our last game against Florida. He was looking at SEC guys and All-Americans and not backing down. He was smiling at him when he was throwing 95-mile-per-hour fastballs by him. So he's going to be our next great pitcher, I think, after I thought he'd make the biggest jump from last year to this year, and he's so far looked the part. Hopefully it continues. And then we've always got our fifth-year senior lefties in Will Walsh, who doesn't matter, never gets wavered by anything. And this is actually the first year he's going to be strictly a pitcher and not pick up the bat at all. So
wow,
he didn't go out and do summer ball like the rest of the guys. He stayed home and worked with Coach Childress and worked on with the training staff on developing his muscles that are just for pitching, and added a couple miles per hour. He was never a hard thrower or anything. I think he's up to like 88 or 89 now.
Yeah.
So he's not a real hard thrower, but he's so good at changing speeds to keep people off balance that he can. That's why he has had 2 real amazing showings in the Big Ten tournament the last couple of years, and then had a real good 7-inning shutout going yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And then today, Brockett, 6 innings before his injury that I never really heard what was happening. If anyone in the comments heard,
no,
something with his
I was
hand.
there and I didn't know.
He just kind of motioned to the trainer, and they went off, and I didn't get a chance to listen to Bolt afterwards to see if he said anything. But yeah, usually that's usually the slowest part of our team to develop is our starting pitching rotation, and
yeah,
from the looks of it this year, that's pretty set, which would go a long way towards maximizing our team's potential if we can keep those guys set. And then we've just got waves and waves of really good bullpen guys. We've got the best closer that we've had, even though he was the one that led up the runs at the end of the game today.
Yeah.
But Bolt said he has 0 concerns, 0 issues with him. He's expecting him to just roll out there and not even think about today happening next time he's out there. And
I think
he's up for like
realistic.
different awards or like watch lists for closers. So he looks to be the real deal.
I think today was a fluke. I mean, he came in as the third pitcher, and it was just kind of already we were already down, and it was just hard to come back. They got lucky. They did get lucky because I think it was like infield hit, and I think it was between the second baseman and the first baseman. And he tried to get it and couldn't, and it was like, oh no, that can't happen, because once that happens, guys get on base and then they score. So yeah,
and it's nice because to pair with that pitching staff that's been so good so far, our defense has been exceptional most of the time. Silva made a catch today up against the wall in center, and Brumbaugh at second. You can tell the radio guys were surprised he couldn't make it to that ball, because he's so fast that he's been getting to everything at second base.
It was weird. It was almost like everything was just a little bit off. Like there was one that kind of just like it just bounced weird infield, went kind of to the side of the pitcher. He couldn't get it, and it was like over his head. It's just things like that I saw today. But it's fine. It'll work itself out, I'm sure.
And it's nice to see they didn't let their offensive struggles carry over to making mental errors on defense too.
Yeah, no, it's so true. Yeah. Okay, James Warden says that single game tickets go on sale tomorrow. I plan on getting tickets for both Creighton games, Oregon State, K-State, and Kansas. Yeah.
Yeah, those K-State and Kansas are supposed to be our easy midweek games that we used to roll out all the South Dakotas and North Dakotas and Northern Colorado would come in for a fun visit, and we'd sweep them and send them packing with their $50,000 or whatever we give them. But
yeah,
that's not this year. This year, K-State's a legit regional team. Kansas is probably fringe regional team. So this is probably the toughest schedule that they've had since they were doing the College World Series back in the early ooze.
Yeah. Well, let's switch gears just a little bit here, and let's talk about Matt Rhule and he started off, what was it, 4 days ago? He stepped in, filled in for Coach Parker at Iowa to make a speech giving out the Assistant Coaches Award for the Broyles Award. Okay. And he gave a 9-minute and 30-second speech that was probably one of the best speeches I've ever heard. And this guy, we love him anyways, right? Yeah. He's a great speaker. We've known that from day one, but just the kind of praise that he gave. And I have a clipping from that. It says, can you read that? I can't even see it. Sorry. Let me just get it.
Yeah, I can read it. Matt Rhule is preaching all night. It's hard to be an assistant coach. It's hard every single day to walk in, take the head coach's message, and make it your message. Take decisions that sometimes aren't yours and make them yours. That's something that I think he has done with his group of assistants now that's better than I can remember at Nebraska, at least in the last, since obviously 98. No, there's been times in the past where assistant coaches had their own agendas and were going off and making decisions on their own, like on either recruiting trail or in practice. And you see it all the time with his staff now. They come to the press conferences or talking after practice. They're all saying the same messages all the time, almost verbatim. They have a direct message they want to get across, and they all follow it.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Aaron. That we get to see everyone being on the same page, having the same agenda, having the same kind of focus. And it's kind of, it's nice. Fred's not here tonight, but he's brought up, who was it? What was the assistant coach's name for Pelini? Was it? Yeah, Pelini.
The special teams guy that came back, or
The guy who was a hothead.
Like,
So, why can't I think of his name right now? Okay. Well, that's a good for instance where when one coach is going this way and another coach is going that way. We've had a lot of that. But it was an assistant, Bob.
Diaco or
Diaco.
or no, yeah.
No, that's who it was. Yeah, because I went back because I wasn't a fan then. I went back and watched some press conferences just to see kind of how. Oh my gosh!
He acts like he's never talked to anyone before or been in front of a camera before. He was the absolute
he was under
worst.
Mike Riley. That's right. Yeah, Bob Diaco. He was under Mike Riley. Mike Riley was the nicest guy ever.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Diaco. I say this, and I don't mean it the way it's gonna sound, but he was like a little crazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And somehow he's fallen up to be on Bill Belichick's staff right now. How he did that, no idea.
I don't know. Maybe he got his act together. Who knows? But okay. So Coach Rhule, I'm sure everybody, if you haven't heard that speech, you need to hear it. It's 9 minutes and 30 seconds. It will make you proud to say, that's our head coach right there. He gave props to Al Golden, his former boss at Temple. And he also let something out of the bag that he coached the D-line at our bowl game. I didn't realize.
It does make sense because he coached the D-line, or he coached the coach at his position that he took over for, if I said that right.
He did. And he also did coach the D-line at Temple too. Yeah. So that is, I didn't even suspect that. Very cool. All right, guys. Husker Chuck's here. Hey, everyone. Hi.
Welcome.
Rastovski's with us. He's not on that side. Okay. So have you had any kind of thoughts on what's going on with, last year, we didn't get anybody invited to the NFL Combine. This year, we got 4 guys invited and one who was left off that list that kind of everyone's kind of scratching their head going, really? Why wouldn't Nash Hutmacher not be invited?
Most people have thought that even though he's obviously doing it for wrestling and stuff, they said that there was concerns about his weight loss gain, and then he doesn't have long arms, and pro scouts hate that. So those kind of things, they want the ideal body types that they can coach and mold into good players. They don't always want the kind of guys that are polished hard workers right away. They think they can get them either as a free agent after that or just by drafting, because I don't know how well he would test at all the testing things they do. He's not super quick at all the drills that they do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think but the guy that was the surprise that got on there, Nayor, he's going to do all those testing things exceptionally. I don't remember what they call the drills that they do in camp to do all the measurables and everything, but he was one of the highest guys on all those things, even though he didn't even drop the last pass that cost us the game. He didn't even touch the last pass that cost us the game in Iowa.
Thank you. I don't know if that was caused by coaching or what, because wide receivers coach, obviously, didn't develop very well this season. Or was it caused by ability? It seemed like he dropped a lot of passes to me.
It seemed a lot like effort because he was, other than that one, he would usually catch the wide open ones, but when he would go up for 50-50 balls, it seemed like he either really wanted to go up and get the ball, and then he would come down with a few of them, but then there were other times where it just seemed like he jumped and then would just kind of watch the ball and either get tipped or he wouldn't fight for it. He just kind of almost fade away from the ball as he was jumping. I didn't care for that effort more often than not that we saw from him.
Same. And I felt like between him and Jamal Banks actually was more.
I think Banks was more polished. He's just not going to test as well as Nair, which is what all the pro scouts want to see.
Well, if you go on, there's a website that has like, the players kind of mock draft, ranked, and kind of where they fall in their positions. Currently, we have, so these are the 4 guys that got invited: Thomas Fidone, Isaiah Nair, Tommy Hill, and Ty Robinson. And again, last season, we didn't get any guys, which, that ticked me off. But we also didn't get any guys drafted last season. Ty Robinson and Tommy Hill are the 2 that are most likely to get drafted right now.
I actually think that Fidone might be the top draft pick out of all of them. He was so poorly misused on the routes they had him run that.
My goodness. Really?
He really should have. More. He's not a guy that should be going side to side and catching a ball at a dead stop. He doesn't have that. He might have had that before 2 knee surgeries, but he didn't have it anymore. He was at his best when he was going up the seam between the linebackers and safeties, and that's what a lot of the NFL teams will have their tight ends doing now. And so there's more than a handful of scouts that really wanted to see him, and he's not as fast as he was, but he's still got decent speed to do all that, and good size, like James Boardman says. He's kind of the mold that they're looking for with tight ends, and they're intrigued that he was rated above the guy that set like all sorts of records as a rookie tight end last year. So I think he'll be the highest out of the bunch for whatever reason.
Interesting.
I've seen more and more things that Ty and Tommy Hill are slipping down and down for whatever reason. Because I think the last thing I saw on Ty said that they thought he might be a 5th round when he was being looked at as 2nd or 3rd round. But I think he will test pretty decently to where, and the most important thing is the medical check. And then the team interviews. The on-field stuff is nice, but I think he's going to be one of the best guys in the interviews with all the teams that they're going to see. He's super intelligent.
He has passion, and he could have gone. He could have gone anywhere, really, and he chose Nebraska. I think he has heart for sure. I just worry about those 2 knee injuries that he had. I don't know, how much that affects things for him. And I kind of thought that was why he didn't, produce as much this season as we thought he might, because when he was doing that halftime dunk show, remember, I was actually amazed that he could jump and dunk because of his knee surgeries.
He's still an explosive guy every once in a while, but
yeah. And he looked kind of slower on the field. You think that's it? So we'll see. I guess the combine starts February 27th and it goes to March 2nd. So that's when they're going to be rating all their tests that they go through. and their speeds. Let's see. James Borden also says he can't.
Every NFL
Okay.
coach thinks they can teach blocking, though, so they don't care about that at all.
So he says he can't block for shit. Whiffed on a couple at the Senior Bowl. Okay.
He did, but he did have some impressive catches at the Senior Bowl with guys draped all over him.
Yeah. Good night, Joe. Thanks for joining us. I hope you finished watching. Stephen Fromm says Nebraska needs some Warren Buffett money so we can pool in Oregon and buy more players. Now, okay, so I've been watching some Josh Pate lately, and he ranked the teams in the Big Ten. Top 10. Of course, Nebraska wasn't in there, but he ranked them on the last 4 years of winning, recruiting, and retention, and turnovers in coaches. Obviously, we've had a lot of turnover. We haven't been winning. We can recruit well, and we can even retain. But those 4 things. And Oregon was like, I want to say 3rd on his list, maybe 4th. It was Ohio State. No, it was 2nd. It was Ohio State, then Oregon. Because Oregon hasn't been winning as much as you would think they could win. But they did great. I mean, I think it's interesting that this week we're going to be going, all the Big Ten and SEC leaders are going to meet in New Orleans actually on Wednesday. And they're going to be discussing a new college football playoff starting in 2026.
Yeah,
have you heard about that?
They have all the power. The NCAA doesn't have the power to tell them yes or no on anything. They're going to drive what they want to have happen.
I love that. Husker Chuck says we were in the top 10 of the Big Ten. I don't think we were. Not in his thing. I think he ranked us pretty low. But we're coming back. We know what we have. We don't need to list. I don't even care about those rankings. But I think it's interesting what other people think. And then James Fordman says the old country Buffett is the only Buffett I care about. Okay. So the college football playoffs are going to be in the hands of the SEC and the Big Ten starting in 2026. It goes to, ESPN has the rights for all the games going through 2031. And it sounds like what they're going to be discussing is that the SEC gets 4 automatic teams in. The Big Ten gets 4. And then the ACC and the Big 12 get 2 teams each. And then there's one kind of like wild card, if you will. Could be Notre Dame, could be anyone else from other conferences. How do you feel about that?
I was always pushing for, I always liked, because the Division 1 AA, I refuse to call them whatever they're supposed to be called. And then Division 2, they have the 16 team and playoffs. I don't understand why we couldn't do that as Division 1. So yeah, I've always been in favor of, I was always hoping for 12, and when we finally got it this year, I was pretty excited. I think they should do at least the 14 to where they give the winner of the Big Ten and the winner of the SEC the buys, and then kind of sprinkle in the rest however they feel it should be. But I wouldn't be opposed to seeing 16 like the rest of the divisions.
Well, one of the points that he had on this was, and it's on Yahoo Sports, the one of the reporters there actually is the one who was reporting on it. The reason this is actually beneficial for us is because, the SEC doesn't play as many conference games as we do.
Yep.
So there's that argument back and forth, just because they have, more wins doesn't make sense that they get in. But if they don't have, if it's just the top teams that win, conference play will actually probably, you'll see probably like an Alabama and a Penn State play each other more often, is what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Because you want those rivalries, but you don't necessarily want, you know what I mean? The win doesn't necessarily matter. The top team in the conference.
Yeah, and I'm all for rewarding the team that plays more conference games than playing the Citadel or Weber State or something like that all the time, like the SEC does late in October and November. And it's actually with baseballs, the Big Tens had to do the same thing. Because they always played, I think it was 8 conference series when the SEC and ACC played 10. So the downside of that is we start playing conference series this year. Let's see. Where's the first one? Our first conference series starts March 7th, which can be pretty chilly in Lincoln, Nebraska at that time. So that's kind of why they always did the 8 series in baseball, so they could go other places before that. But they realized last year to get up with the other conferences, they're going to have to equal them in the amount of games they're playing. So yeah, I think that the SEC should have to do that in football too.
Well, I think that's part of the plan, actually, going to the SEC going to 9 conference games.
Mm-hmm.
So we will see what they come out with. I guess next week is their meeting. So they're meeting in New Orleans this week. And then the college football playoff selection committee or whatever is meeting with the Big Ten and SEC people next week in Dallas. So everyone, all the ADs and the head honchos from the Big Ten and SEC are meeting in New Orleans to discuss what they want to tell the college football playoff committee. So this is going to be interesting over the next couple of weeks, because there's definitely going to be a change. And I can't wait to hear what they have in store for us. But James Boardman says, can't dog the SEC when Nebraska has Houston Christian on the schedule. That's another thing that they're going to talk about. The strength of schedule is an argument that the college football selection or playoff committee has to talk about, right? And if everyone has kind of like a strong schedule now, hopefully, because the ratings will make it worthwhile and it won't necessarily be used against you, because it's just whoever's the top dog in your conference.
But yeah, Houston Christian, we're basically paying ourselves there, because that's where we go down and do our camp every year. So we're giving them whatever $1 million to basically put into their facilities and have it so that we can come down and use those facilities. So
that's a good point.
I'm not going to dock them for that. But the strength of schedule wise, and made me think of another thing, because Indiana this year had one of the worst strength of schedules non-conference there was, and they ended up in the playoffs. But when you go and look at their combine invites, you'd think a playoff team would have, at least more than we would have. They only had 2 invites out of that whole off a playoff team.
That's a good point. Look at Rastovski.
I thought that was wild.
Good point. That is wild. Yeah. Huh. That's a great point. If you think about it, they ought to have how many did Alabama have? Alabama didn't even get invited, right? So, or go to the playoffs. So I wonder how many Alabama had. That is a great point.
The 2 leaders were Ohio State had like 11 or 12, and then Oregon had like 1 less, if I remember right.
Yeah.
I think they were the 2 big ones.
Well, Husker Chuck says every major program should open with a cupcake, then an ACC or Big 12 foe, add an SEC opponent, and the rest conference schedule. Too simple. Oh, look at that. He just solved everyone's problems.
I'm down with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. I feel like a lot of people in the Big 10 actually consider us the like Big 12 of
I know it's weird they
of the
still
Big
consider
10.
us the new guys with all these,
Yeah. Yeah.
even Rutgers and Maryland and the Western schools coming in, but
It's so
we're still the
weird.
new guys.
Yeah, and that's another thing that Coach Rhule talked about a lot on Josh Pates. He did an interview with him today. He talked extensively about how the travel actually affects Big Ten teams because we're coast to coast now, and the SEC doesn't have that. It's a lot different whenever you have the your whole team traveling across the country, and you have to, you deal with sicknesses. You have to. It's like it is a lot harder. So that's interesting too. Something that I hadn't even really thought about.
And with football, it's one thing, you're in and out, or basketball, you're in and out in 24 hours or so. But people are picking Oregon to win the Big Ten in baseball this year.
Oh.
You're not flying to New Jersey to play Rutgers and then flying back out that same day. You're there for an entire weekend, getting your body all messed up on Eastern time, flying back to the West Coast, flying into Lincoln. I don't think they play in Lincoln this time, but that kind of stuff, I don't see how you can do that and have a scouting report on all the new teams you're playing and still win. I don't think there's any chance they win the Big Ten.
Husker Chuck says, good luck, Oregon. Cash in those frequent flyer miles. Yeah, they will need them. That's a lot of traveling.
That's why the Mariners up in Seattle, they'd never do great because they've got to just fly everywhere. That there's nothing close to them. And
oh yeah. See, here in Arizona, we're lucky because everybody starts out down here or in Texas or Florida. It's like easy for us, but they get James Warren says that getting their bodies all messed up on Eastern time and dirty water dogs. What's a dirty water dog? Can you fill me in?
Guessing he's talking about the hot dog carts.
Oh, ew. That does sound kind of messed up. All right. I have a couple starred comments here that I wanted to take. And James Boardman starts it off with, if Texas wants EJ Bartell, they can trade us Arch Manning so we can have a quarterback. What the heck is that all about? I mean, really. My computer just told me it's going to shut down in just a second. I forgot to plug it in. So give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. There. We're plugged in. Yeah, we do have a quarterback. His name is Dylan Raiola, number 15. You do know that. And then Justin Raji says, yes, we definitely need a quarterback. You guys, he's like all over the place. Are you just getting tired of seeing him? Is that why? He's been in Omaha. Him and Emmett Johnson, they were going to high school games all over the place, right?
Oh, yeah, they call ahead and let the ADs know that they're coming, and well, they don't, but someone does, and so they have
they have their people,
everything ready for them to come sit courtside. And there's a third guy. I don't remember who the third guy. There's those two, and then someone else goes with them.
Oh, somebody else too? Maybe it
was.
I bet it was his partner in crime, his roommate from fall camp. Was his name Ja'Cory Barney? Is that it?
I don't think it was him, but I don't know. I don't remember 100% for sure.
Okay. And then Stephen Fromm just comes out with a random comment here. Didn't know where this came from, or where he was going with it. He goes, it's safer to drive than fly these days. And I'm like, why would anyone say that? I haven't heard anyone say that since my grandmother, like 20 years ago. And then he says, how many plane crashes have there been the past few weeks? And I didn't know this. Thuzero came in with 87 aviation incidents. Yikes. In the past few weeks? Did you know that?
I think I passed that many wrecks on the way to work this morning, so it's still safer than cars.
Oh, because of the snow.
Yeah, everyone was up early getting to work. Usually, because I go to work, I have to be there at 7 when I open the pharmacy, and usually I'm just rolling in by myself. There's no cars on the road, but it was traffic all over the place today when I was going there. Everyone wanted to get out early.
Yeah.
I know they had to close down the main street on Dodge out by us for a while, and
holy crap!
Yeah, I passed a whole bunch.
Yeah, James Warren says
Delta flight
flipped upside down. Oh my!
Delta flight was upside down, and I know they had injuries. I don't remember if they announced any deaths or not. I would assume so, since it's upside down.
We are talking about plane crashes. Sorry. It just, somebody got us off topic. I'm not going to name names, but it just was alarming to me that, this is what's going on in the world besides Husker sports. We got to talk about other
things. There we go. Husker checks finally got how many inches of snow we had. 5 inches.
5 inches. Yeah.
He pays more attention than me.
Very good. Okay, Stephen Fromm, last comment. With revenue sharing, how long before college programs start to cut off the sporting events that don't bring in positive revenue? It's a good question. Maybe they go to a different conference. Isn't that something that Chip Kelly talked about last year?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not fair to not have those rivalries, like UCLA plays Arizona State every year. They were rivalries in softball and baseball, and now because they moved conferences, it's not fair to them. So maybe they have different conferences for different sports. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I've always thought that football should kind of have its own little thing, and then because there's no reason for, as much as I love having the Western teams come in for baseball and drive up the conferences, RPI and all that stuff, making them like those Oregon guys make all those trips, and Washington, and that's Rutgers going way out there. That's not fair to the volleyball teams, the baseball teams, the softball teams, rifle teams, bowling teams.
Rifle and bowling. That does not make sense. You're right.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
football can definitely drive all that, but everything else should be more regional, I think.
Mm-hmm. What is happening? It is. Not sure. But college football playoffs, we're talking about how the ESPN is, has the contracts starting in 2026 for televised games, and how now the Big Ten and SEC have all of the power. There's like a memorandum. Haven't seen it, but this is what it says, that the higher ups in the Big Ten and SEC have control over college football playoffs. And they're talking about doing 4 teams for the Big Ten, 4 teams for the SEC, automatic ins for the playoffs, and then 2 for ACC and Big 12 each, and then 1 kind of unknown. Could come from a conference team, or if Notre Dame's in, ranked. So it's interesting. We will see. And that kind of affects, I think it kind of affects everything else. Yeah. And James Foreman says, I was bummed that the USC and UCLA baseball games are in LA. I wanted to catch them here in a cold March weekend.
I know, that'd be nice, but the good thing about that is
it's not snowy, it's not cold, it's nice and sunny. It's sunnier there than it is in LA. You never know.
at least we get to do just one trip out there instead of going back and forth for our guys at least. And
yeah,
I'm jealous that in between those two games they worked out a little 2-game series with Pepperdine, which is the greatest campus in the history of the world.
Is it?
I'm jealous that I couldn't go. Oh yeah, down in Malibu.
I haven't been. I didn't know it was the greatest campus in history.
Oh yeah, palm trees everywhere, and it's beautiful.
Well, there's palm trees everywhere in the South and West Coast.
I know, but you're in Malibu on the ocean.
Yeah, that's true. That's nice. Good point. Well,
so I'm jealous. I was hoping that I could go that on a West Coast swing for travel, but I'll stick to Texas.
Yeah, at least you get to go to Texas. 2 weeks, right?
Yep.
And we'll expect an update then. You think we're going to be good this season?
Yeah, we should. Our goal is always to host a regional, and I think this is the closest we've been. We should have done it in 2021. We got screwed out of that, but I think if they continue to play with the pitching they've got, that the hitting will come around. So I think we'll have a good chance to host a regional this year for the first time since, I don't even remember, is it like 08 or 09? I forget.
Really?
When those pesky Irvine Anteaters upset us, I think.
Stephen Fromm wants to tell you, no way, South Bend is the greatest campus in the history of campuses.
South Bend was cool. I was there last year, or 2 years ago, on my way home from Purdue. I went to the baseball series there, and then had to fly out of Chicago, and so I drove my rental car through South Bend, and it was graduation weekend, and it was pretty nice to go through there. Unfortunately, I couldn't. They had the whole football stadium closed off because it was graduation, so I couldn't get in there, and the field was all covered up with tarps. So that was a shame that I couldn't see that. But otherwise, it was a really, really nice campus. I walked around there for probably an hour and a half, just looking at all the different buildings and sites, and Touchdown Jesus, and it was cool.
Very nice. Yeah. Ohio State was a nice campus, I have to say. The church bells were ringing as I was walking through the campus to go watch the game this last season. And it was a perfect fall day, crisp, cold, kind of one of those days where you kind of put a sweater on, and it's just beautiful. Sun was shining. And I thought that was a nice campus too.
Actually, I've already been to like 7 Big Ten campuses, and I really liked Purdue's little campus. That was
Purdue, yeah.
That was nice. They had a lot of updated buildings, but still some of the old buildings that looked nice and historic. And then in West Lafayette, they have a Frank Lloyd Wright house. So some of their like fraternities and sororities tried to like copy Frank Lloyd Wright styles. That was kind of neat to see.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Frank Lloyd Wright had one of his schools down here. So we have tons and tons of architecture from Frank Lloyd Wright in Arizona. Well, Phoenix in particular, Scottsdale. Yeah. Taliesin West. So love that. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah. And at Nebraska, you can get Touchdown Dylan. You probably will be able to in about 4 years. I'm sure we'll have a statue of him. But on that note, you guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I love that you show up here and your comments mean everything. And I just wanted to say thank you, Rastovski, for giving us the update on baseball and sharing all of your Husker sports comments with us. And I hope you come back. You're welcome back
Oh.
anytime.
Absolutely. Let me know.
Everyone, have a good night and go Big Red.
Go Big Red.